Fidelis Okenmor Tilije, born on April 23, 1958. He attended the University of Lagos for both his first degree in banking and finance in 1983, where he made the second-class upper division. Due to an excellent result, he was granted the university scholar status to study his master's degree in finance with specialization in corporate finance in 1985. Moved by an uncommon patriotic spirit to bring sustainable development to Delta State through good governance, Sir Tilije, upon retirement from banking, joined the political fray and pitched his tent with the opposition, Democratic People's Party, DPP. Sir Tilije, who served in various national committees while in the banking sector, including Presidential Committee on Offshore Banking in Nigeria, Bankers Subcommittee on Corporate Governance, Bankers Subcommittee on Interest Rates Reduction, is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Nigeria Stockbrokers, Fellow, Associate of Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, and a Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketers of Nigeria. For his contribution to excellence in banking, he received the West African International Golden Award for Excellence in Enterprise in 2002 and the Paul Harris Fellowship Award by Rotary International. Happily married to Dr. Rose Nkem Tilije and blessed with 3 children, Tilije is a man that we focus on. My vote counts.must.
You are welcome to the program My Vote Counts, the first edition. My name is Michael Itoro, and today we are actually looking at the topic exchanging electoral vices for virtue. I have with me here Chief Fidelis Okenmor Tilije. Sir, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Sir, 2015 election is around the corner. What is your take on it?
I think for 2015, it is extremely important that we get it right this time around. I believe that for quite some time now, since the new democracy got into place in 1999, we haven't actually gotten it right. The basis of development of any rebate in a nation is getting it right at the polls where leaders are elected. If you don't get it right at the electoral field, the tendency is that bad leadership will become the bane of development in the environment. To that extent, I really hope that we'll get it right in 2015. If we don't get it right, that proclamation done far before now, that Nigeria might not be a nation again, will become a reality.
Okay. Well, sir, my vote count.must, that is the phrase of so many electorates out there. As an experienced politician, what do you think the electorates need to do for their votes to count in 2015, sir?
I think we have not done enough of electoral education to the people. Most people believe that all they needed to do is come out on the election day, collect some naira notes from politicians. Some of them even do sharing of rice, bags of rice, salt, etc. before the election day. But what is critically important is that the votes of the people must count. The votes of the people must, at any point in time, reflect the wishes of the people. If it does reflect the wishes of the people, the tendency is that true leaders are thrown up. And once you have true leaders who are fair-minded, who are actually serious and are willing to take the commitment of governance, the tendency is that there will be development in the environment. We really do hope that in 2015, the votes will not only count, but it will mirror and reflect the wishes of the people. That is the only way Nigeria can be a nation.
All right, sir, since the Fourth Republic, we have heard about stakeholders, security agents, and so many others. How can you describe their roles towards a free and fair election and a way forward for 2015 election as well?
I think it's equally very important for the security agents to be fully well educated. Coming from the military regime, I think the psyche of the security agents still do a lot in terms of intimidating the people who are actually out to cast their votes. We have seen it happen before, and the tendency is that most of the security agents themselves become partisan. And once the security agent who is supposed to be an umpire becomes partisan, the tendency is that the true result of those elections will not reflect the wishes of the people. The security agents need to be fully well educated. They must also know that the outcome of any election also mirrors their own fairness and standard of living. Because indeed, they are part of the electorate. One would have expected that they too themselves would understand the fact that if a good leader is thrown up at the end of the day, they also will be part of that good leadership. They therefore will also enjoy the development that that good leadership will throw up. For me, I like to crave the indulgence of whoever is responsible, particularly INEC, and the governance of today, that as they try as much as possible to educate the population, they should also educate the security agents. And indeed, they should start the training and retraining of security agents now, so that at the end of the day, we'll usher in a better electoral values come 2015 elections.
INEC over the years have been faced with most electoral challenges. What do you think INEC need to do to better enhance the electoral system in the next election, sir?
One thing I don't really understand is why INEC collected the data of the population since 2007, and even though they have collected the data, they have refused to do electronic voting. I really don't know why they have decided not to do so. Having collected data of the people, one would have thought that by now we should begin to do electronic voting. That is the only way we can get it right in this country. Because if it is electronic voting, then the issues of rigging will clearly be minimized. I'll call and I will repeatedly say the same thing, that it's important for us to now begin to do electronic. Analog voting will not mirror out the good leadership that we expect. And therefore, development will also not be the best at the end of the day. I call on INEC to please use the data that have since collected and ensure that we do electronic voting in 2015. They still have an opportunity. If the data has been biased or tampered with, there's still an opportunity for them because we have enough time for them to do so immediately. They should start it now and begin to think about how we are going to do electronic voting come 2015.
So, sir, do you believe we could actually have a credible election come 2015?
I think with the kind of vices and problems and crises all over the country, the only thing to do is to have credible election in 2015. History tells us that all the crises that we have experienced in this country in the past few years came out of unfairness, came out of decisions of government that one way or the other impacted negatively on the populace. Therefore, it is critical that a credible election must be seen through in 2015. I think we can do it. With serious election campaign and education, I think we should be able to do that. But better still, the youths of this country who are teeming in their numbers in unemployment must understand that they have to be there to ensure that their vote counts. Without the youths, there won't be a future for a nation. And I think it's their responsibility to take it very seriously, ensure that while they vote, they must sit down there and wait for the results to be counted. If we don't get it right in 2015, I repeat, more crises will envelop this nation and nobody knows the extent to which it will go. I hope, and I do hope, that whoever is given the responsibility to be part of this 2015 election will do what it takes to ensure that the credible election becomes the order of the day.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Well, looking at the scope of Nigeria, its electorate, and the results, we are now asking what and who is to be blamed. Are we to blame the ballot box, or we are to blame the political culture? Who do you think we are to blame in these aspects?
I think the blame will go to various sectors of the economy. It will go to the government, it will go to security agents, it will go to we ourselves. And most importantly, the politicians who believe that the best thing they need to do is to go out there and ensure that they win by all costs. So I think the blame actually should go straight to the politicians, because without their irresponsibility in the system, clearly a credible election becomes a bit easier. Politicians must understand that it must not be a do-or-die affair. I understand that we're coming from the military side, but that notwithstanding, since 1999, that's almost 16 years into this new democracy, we need to do everything humanly possible to ensure that we create a very reasonable environment that will be fair to all concerned, and the politicians themselves, including me, because I think I must be a politician now, all of us must put our hands together. All hands must be on deck to ensure that we have a credible election in 2015. But I think that the blame actually lies squarely on those politicians who believe that it's a do-or-die game. I think that politics is a game that at the end of the day should be such that good leadership are thrown up, and at the end of the day, development could then be seen to trespass the nooks and crannies of the country. Politicians must ensure that it is never a do-or-die technique any longer. We must be fair to all concerned, and all of us must see it as a game of choosing leadership and not a game of actually going out there to corruptly enrich ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Well, sir, the youths and electorate, they have actually sung the word ringing in their bloodstreams. So we would really love to know what you, as a politician, understand by that word.
I think rigging actually is clearly in the lips of virtually all Nigerians now. We all know that it's an electoral vice that must be stopped, albeit we are still enmeshed in it because of the corrupt system that we run in this country, enmeshed in it because of the value system that has changed so drastically negatively over the years. Well, I believe that the same politicians who believe that it must be they and them alone that will be leaders of the country are those people who believe that it must be a do-or-die technique, and the only way they can get there, knowing fully well that they are not the choice of the people, is to rig themselves into power. Rigging is absolutely negative, and rigging throws up poor leadership, and rigging also even creates very serious violence in the system. We can no longer in this country encourage violence or crisis. We do know that in some other elections that have taken place, most people would have died on the electoral day. We believe that rigging must be stopped and the votes must count. I sympathize with the youths of the country because they are actually used to execute this rigging system in this country. And because most of them are unemployed, the tendency is that easily their rights can be easily bought. We believe that the only way to stop this is to ensure that there is voter education in this country, and we must start now. All the big budgets that INEC runs every year, I believe that it has not been practically utilized for voters education. We need to start education, training of INEC staff, whether be they ad hoc or permanent. Rigging, again, I repeat, is an electoral vice that must stop, because what it does is throw up those leadership that are not wanted by the people. At the end of the day, the result does not mirror the wishes of the people. Democracy is a game of number, yes. It is not a game of ordinary number. It is a game of voting and ensuring that votes count. If those votes don't count, then clearly it is not democracy at the end of the day. It means, therefore, that it's only the minority that will decide the fate of the majority. And that is not the definition of democracy at all. One man, one vote, and majority must be given the opportunity to choose who their leader sits.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, you have actually touched a bit of it, but we'll still like you to emphasize more on it. We really want to know how rigging plays in an electoral system. How does it play in an electoral system?
The truth is that Nigerian politicians have, to a very high extent, mastered the game of rigging. Rigging itself does not start on the day of the election. Okay. Rigging starts at the particular point when INEC begin to compile the register. And that is the time that names, fictitious names, reptiles, fishes, particularly in the riverine areas, are then now inputted into the electoral register of INEC. Having been able to create an unnecessary capacity of voters in a particular register in an environment, and therefore that gives them the comfort to ensure that rigging takes place. If you take an example of a small village with maybe a total population of 1,000, and then at the end of the day, the voter register also comes up with 1,000 names in the register. But indeed, at the end of the day, those who actually come out to vote, or who have even been able to achieve voter age, might be less than 500. But because the register has been manipulated at the time of the registration, the tendency is that they have 1,000 capacity, and so they can come in and then bring in results that will also be close to 1,000. In actual fact, the voting population in that environment might be less than even a quarter of that. So rigging itself starts from the registration period and goes through even the period of campaign until at the end of the day, when on that actual fateful electoral day, then ballots are then now, ballot boxes are snatched, stuffed, and at the end of the day, results are written. Indeed, in this country, we are finding a situation where elections don't even take place at all. But at the end of the day, results are compiled, and compiled right in the offices of INEC, not even in the field. So rigging itself, and I hope that Nigerians will understand it this time around, that we must take our fate in our hands, and we must ensure that we not only go to vote, we must vote and ensure that our vote count. And we must stay there and work the results released. I still will seize this opportunity to crave the indulgence of INEC that we must go electronic in 2015. We have the capacity to so do. The population is literate enough to know how to do electronic voting. Therefore, since that is the only way we can get it right, which is indeed what happens all over the world, this analog issue must stop. Nigeria must go digital in all its affairs of governance.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, before we come to the close of the program, MyVoteCounts.Must media chat, exchanging electoral vices for virtue and advice to the Nigerian electorate. Sir, would actually love to hear your general advice to the electorate and especially to the youth not to be used as tools come 2015 election.
Voting is extremely important in the life of a nation. It is through voting that we choose our leaders. If we don't vote wisely, the tendency is that we will throw up bad leadership. My advice to all Nigerians who are of voting age is to please begin to understand the fact that the poor governance we have gotten thus far since the First Republic at independence till today is because we have not allowed our votes to count. Our votes must count. We must ensure that our votes count. We must go out there to indeed cast our vote. I can say with every authority that 50% of those people who actually form the age of voting in this country have not voted, even since 1999. Some of them believe that whether they vote or not, results will be compiled. We must not lose hope. We must come out to cast our votes. We must stay in there, ensure that our votes count, and ensure that results are announced before we leave the polling booth. That is the only way we can ensure credible election, and that's the only way we can bring forth credible leadership that will actually take this country to where it should be. We have been lacking behind in the nations of the world. This is the time we must get it right. The Boko Haram, the militancy in the riverine areas of Niger Delta are caused because are caused by the fact that we have not been able to produce good leaders. If good leaders are produced, the tendency is that the fairness will cut across the nation, and therefore developments will be just within the nooks and crannies of this country. And therefore, too, industrialization will become the order of the day, and then unemployment will be driven away. If you don't vote and vote wisely, you will produce bad leaders who don't even know what governance should be. And then at the end of the day, what you get is what you inputted into the system. If you want bad leadership, stay in your house, don't bother. But if you want development of this country, which all of us are actually craving to have, we must come out, vote wisely, and ensure that our results count.
Thank you very much, sir. It was nice having you on My Vote Must Count media chat.
Thank you very much. We will be here. If you need us again, we will be available.